Thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure to speak to you all about WEkEO, which is one of the projects that I'm involved in here in my work at EUMETSAT. And we'll talk a little bit about the different tools that are available on the system to help you analyze large amounts of Earth observation data in an efficient and hopefully user-friendly way. So George gave me a great introduction there, so you don't need to know too much more about who I am, but this is me. I'm a scientist by training, an ocean scientist, in fact, and did my PhD looking at harmful algal blooms off the coast of South Africa. And that's really what got me into working with satellite data. And now in my job, what I do is help other people to do the same, working not just with ocean color data, but with all the different types of satellite data that we provide from here at EUMETSAT and more broadly, as was mentioned, through the Copernicus program, which we'll talk more about in a second. I do this now at EUMETSAT, but I work very closely with a lot of people, and you'll see that Earth observation really is a team game. We all have to work together to make sure that all the right data that we have can get into the hands of people like you to use it in impactful ways. So a little bit more about EUMETSAT. This is us. You can see our lovely building here in Germany in the picture. So we are the organization for the exploitation of meteorological satellites based in Germany. We represent 30 different member states from across Europe, and we have two main mandates. The first is to provide weather and climate data to those member states, and the second is to produce additional capabilities with the European Union and beyond. And to note there's two major things that I would like to bring to your attention. One is that we do a lot of work under the Copernicus program, and you can see the satellites we operate for them on the top right there, the Sentinel series of satellites, with more coming in the upcoming years. And also to note that we have very, very strong collaborations across the African continent, both through the Copernicus program and through connections that we have with the weather services across the continent. One of our major satellite programs sits right above the continent, so we can provide great data that can help with African weather, climate, and other applications. So the Copernicus program is an initiative of the European Commission, and it has several components. The core component that I'm involved in and that you hear about when you hear about the satellites is the space component. So this is coordinated by the European Space Agency, and the missions are operated both by ESA, the European Space Agency, and by us here at EUMETSAT, depending on which mission you're looking at. The data from the satellites then flows downstream into the services component, and you'll see there listed, we have a land service, marine service, atmosphere service, climate change service, emergency management service, and a security applications service as well. These are coordinated by a group of different organizations who are also what is known as entrusted entities. That's us, ESA, and all these organizations you see listed there next to the services. There's also
Sorry to interrupt briefly, Hayley. If you can go a bit slowly, we are doing a simultaneous French translation. So if you can go a bit slowly, thank you.
I will try my best. So we also have an in situ component. So this is collecting data, not from satellites and not from models, but from in water or on land using different instruments. So this supplements the data that we get from the satellites, and that is coordinated through the different services. So it's a lot of data. It's very broad, lots of different types. And as you can see from the different types of services there, we're serving lots of different user communities. So accessing this data, you can get it from all the different organizations involved here, but that can be quite confusing for people. So one thing that has happened since this program was initiated is some of these platforms that allow you to access all the data in one place with some support. And one of these platforms, the platform that I'll present to you today, is WEkEO. So whilst having these individual platforms is important, and it helps us to support the different types of people that use our data, many users want to work with lots of different data from across the program. And that's where WEkEO comes in. So WEkEO brings together all the data available from the Copernicus program and data from the different entities that also support this. So extra data from us at EUMETSAT from our weather missions is also available. And it allows users to work with this data in a seamless way from these different data sources. And you can see here that we have 4 of the different entrusted entities involved in the WEkEO project. So there's us at EUMETSAT, ECMWF, the European Centre for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, Mercator Ocean International, who are responsible for the Marine Service, and the European Environment Agency, who are very involved in both the land service and the in situ component of the Copernicus program. So one strength that this partnership really brings is that we're able to work with all the data from across these different providers, and we can always work with the data from the original source because we produce it, so you know it's coming from us. So one question you might ask is, what data can I access through WEkEO? And WEkEO provides, as I said, access to the original Copernicus data directly from the providers. It doesn't maintain a copy, and it covers the whole suite of data. So directly from the satellites, from the European Space Agency, and from EUMETSAT, but also from the different services under Copernicus. And you can see here all the services represented, as well as all the different satellites, and then some additional satellite data that's available from partners and from those of us involved, such as us at EUMETSAT. How do you get to WEkEO? So if you visit wekeo.copernicus.eu, you'll land on our web portal, and this is the first thing you'll see here, which is our homepage. And I'll talk you through now some of the different facilities, capabilities, tools, etc., that we have on this platform. So here you can see, if you click on the services and tools, the different tools and services that we offer. So we have some basic services that allow you to view data, to find out more about it, and to get a bit of an idea about what it's possible to do with this data without registering or anything else. If you do register, it gives you access to more tools and services, including working environments where you can actually get hands-on with the data itself. So we'll go through these different services here. There's a data viewer, there's a data catalog, there's the WEkEO workspace, the WEkEO drive, and then there's some more advanced services, which I'll also tell you a little bit about. So let's start with the data viewer. On WEkEO, we actually have 2 different data viewers. There's the light viewer. This is very easy to use, allows you to see a selected set of data to showcase some of the things that are available through Copernicus. We also have an expert viewer, which gives you access to all the data that's available and some visualizations of it, with different tools that you can use to start working already with the data in terms of projections, pulling out time series, and also it allows you to start clicking and downloading part of that data already using this data viewer interface. Attached to this is also our data catalog. So this allows you to search for different data based on different filters parameters, such as the type of satellite, the type of service, if you already know where it comes from, the area you're interested in, and some different thematic topics. The data metadata behind this is harmonized across all the different sources. So whether it's coming from us at EUMETSAT, ESA, or from one of the services, you can find the same sort of information about each product. And crucially, it links you back to the detailed information you might need about these different products. Most of the data can be visualized in some way in the viewer. For that can't, you can also download all of the data through the viewer and via this link with the catalog. When we move towards working with the data, one of the things that we provide that helps users who don't know much about the data to start getting used to it is our Jupyter catalog. And this provides code examples for working with all of the different types of data that are available in WEkEO. It covers the use of the different tools that we provide, but also different use cases. So how you can use the data in the context of marine, atmosphere, climate, and land domains. From the catalog, you can see the notebooks, so you can look through them and see what's covered in them. You can clone them from the GitLab and GitHub facilities that we have linked. And if you're a registered user, you can actually start working directly with these notebooks on the WEkEO Jupyter Hub. And I've just shown a few examples here. These are the little cards that summarize what is in these notebooks. But you can see they cover everything from the technical background of the data and how to access it through to some interesting applications. And I've selected some weather and marine ones that I was involved in working on before. In terms of additional services when you're registered, you can then work with the data directly on our workspace. So you can log in, download data, open notebooks, use them in the Jupyter Hub. You can also store and share your data on the WEkEO drive that we have, which allows you some storage space so you can work with the data. And it allows you to start using more advanced specific software tools which provide additional functionality for working with the data. So these are some of our new sort of code-based tools, which I'll tell you more about in a second. You also have to be registered to access more cloud computing resources if you want to scale up beyond the free offer available on WEkEO, which we'll talk about now. So as I mentioned before, we have the WEkEO workspace. And this is a Jupyter Hub. If you've used one of those before, it'll look very familiar to you. But we called it the WEkEO workspace to highlight that actually it does more than just offer Jupyter notebooks, specifically Python-based ones. There are other applications made available here, including R Studio. So we have an integrated environment for using R. We have an Xcube viewer in there, which allows you to visualize your data cubes directly in notebooks. And we have more tools coming soon. All of the notebooks that I showed you before that are listed in the catalog can run in this workspace, but you also have the option to configure the environment yourself if you'd like to do other things with this space using the data to run your own code, for example. I mentioned WEkEO Drive. This gives you some storage space that allows you to share results with other users in WEkEO. It's up to 8 GB of free workspace by default that you can use. And I think one of the most important things that we've done in terms of allowing efficient usage of data is develop a series of software tools that allow you to start working more broadly with very large volumes of the data that we provide. So one of the core things here that can help is the Harmonized Data Access API. And this is really the backbone that provides access seamlessly to all the different types of data that I mentioned before. Now, when you're in the viewer, and you click and search and download, it's actually using the same tool, but you can use it in a programmatic way that allows you to automate your downloads and scale them up across large volumes. So this is the Data Access API. We have some notebooks that allow you some support to use this for different ways. We also have some plugins from the Climate Lab plugin set and EarthKit, which hides some of the complexity of using different data formats and allows you to bring the data into your own working space for further processing. Again, we have some new Jupyter Notebook examples here in the catalog that can help you with this. One of the new things that we've developed very recently is the EO Canvas library. So this is another set of Python-based APIs and tools that allow you to use serverless processing. So you can use cloud-based resources, you can send workflows off without having to worry about how it's handled in the back end in terms of the computing power and the distribution of these different resources. And what we've done is preload into this toolkit common workflows that we think will help our users to use data more efficiently and effectively. And this includes some things that you might have already heard about. If you've used the Snap toolkit, you can run a Snap graph using EO Canvas. You can also use other tools such as our data tailor. This is something we're looking to develop a lot more in the future. So if you have ideas for workflows that you would like to see in here, then please do get in touch with us, because we'd love to hear from you about what could help you to use our data more. Again, we have notebooks examples here. You can see two that show how you can use EO Canvas to move data into a S3 bucket as input and output, and another example that shows how to create a data cube using EO Canvas and some of the Snap software. If the free offer is not enough for you, as in there's not enough computing resources in the Jupyter Hub or using the serverless functions such as EO Canvas, you can also get additional processing resources through WEkEO. You can apply to our innovation lab to get free computing resources for your own pilot projects. And then we also have commercial access to virtual machines provided through industry partners. WEkEO is very fundamentally based on providing good user support. This is something I'm involved in quite a lot. And so there's various things that help you to understand what is happening with the data, with the services, and also to find further information about what we can do to help you. So we have updates on the data provision and the system status. These are provided directly on the website, so you can see if there's any problems with data coming down from the satellites or in the services that we're offering. We have a whole array of help articles that you can read to learn more about using the different tools and services. And we also have an AI agent and an in-person help desk support team behind the scenes that can help with any questions that you have. So if you ask questions about some of the Sentinel-3 marine data, for example, if the AI agent can't help you, it'll be me you end up speaking to. We also run a wide variety of events to engage further, giving you a presentation here today, but we also run our own trainings and have hackathons and other things that can help you to engage with us and with the data products and services. You can find more information about these on the website, and there's also recordings of past events and all the presentations available if you've missed something. And I think that was everything I had to share with you today on my whistle-stop tour through WEkEO. But I'd be very happy to answer any questions you have about the data, about the services that we provide, or about how you can work more with us to help turn your data, ideas, and applications into reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hayley, for the presentation. And I think we have good time to have a lot of discussion. And I'll be the first person to shoot. So with this GAIAthon that we are organizing for 16 universities across Africa, we have our own dedicated website, and there's a link from that website that opens the WEkEO window. The question is, if they need data for their solutions, what do you advise that they do?
Okay, I can maybe give you a little bit of a demonstration to show if you'd like. So just give me 1 minute to change my share over. Just get to the WEkEO website and then I can show you a bit more what I mean. Okay, hopefully you can once again see my screen here. And so this is what happens when you come to the WEkEO website. You can start exploring the data for free. So if you have ideas about what data you need already, even if it's just a variable, you need temperature information, land cover or something, you can already come to the viewer here and you can look through the light viewer, or you can visit the expert data viewer. And you can start searching in here for all the data sets that are available. You can see there's a lot of them. And down here, you can search by area that you're interested in. Some of these are smaller regional products, or a whole bunch of different tags that will tell you about the different variables. There's also a free text filter here that you can add in. So you can search for anything on there. If you're really stuck and you're not sure how to start looking for the data, you can also use the help that we provide. So if I go back to the main page, here, you can see we have a little chat box down here. So here you can ask questions, and if you're searching for a particular data set, it might be able to quite quickly find the data set and give you a link to it. It's AI powered, so it's actually pretty good these days at finding data for different applications. But if you aren't getting the answers you're looking for through that, it will pass you on to one of our expert support team. And if it's, for example, a marine application, you might well be connected to me so that we can talk more about the data that would help you. Yeah, I guess that's a quick start for how you would find the right data. But I'd be happy to answer any more questions, specifically if there's ones you already have ideas about what data people might need.
Thank you very much. That was very useful. So please, audience, kindly ask your questions. And sometimes they do put their questions into the chat window. So sometimes you can cross into the chat window and then help with the answers. Thank you.
So I can see one question in there, someone saying about using R. So yeah, we have an R Studio basis in the WEkEO workspace. So here you can use, if you've got existing pieces of R code, you can use this to analyze the data. You can import any other bits and pieces of R code that you can find elsewhere online. And if you can set up the right environment in there, you can use R to start accessing the data. And we have a little bit of R code, but I will freely admit that we don't have quite as much Python as we do Python. So we have a lot of Python-based code, but they work in quite similar ways from my understanding. I'm not super experienced in R myself. I'm more of a Python person. But I think you can quite readily translate some of them as well, especially with some of the more modern code-based tools that we have out there. So you can definitely use that. And yep, your account, if you've created one now, you should be able to start accessing it pretty soon. I don't think this takes very long to set up, but please have a go, explore, see what you can find and work with. And if you have questions, as you saw, there's a lot of chat support and expert support out there that can help you.
Please, we're waiting for your questions so that you take advantage of this opportunity of using WEkEO for your solutions.
Oh, that's another question I can see now in the chat. On WEkEO, can we extract shape field data? I'm assuming you mean for inclusion into things like QGIS for doing kind of general GIS analysis. I'm not sure quite how directly you can do this, but we did cover this in one of our recent tutorials that we did on one of our trainings. They were talking about using QGIS, and we have some QGIS related plugins that can work with our data. So I'd recommend having a look at that. I can see in the background here if I can find the one that it was on for you. But yes, we're quite aware that people like to export this data for this kind of usage, and there are some tools around that can help you with that. It might be in our WEkEO Essentials training. Okay, so question there about an upload of other data. How do users of WEkEO upload external data sets to analyze alongside the available EO data? So if you've got data stored somewhere in like an S3 bucket, it's very easy to connect them. We've got some examples of this in our code repository where you can connect to private storage. You could also use the WEkEO Drive data space that we've got. So that comes with your account. So there's a small amount of space there. It's not small, but there's some space there. If you have got data that you'd like to upload somehow and make more readily available, then do contact us and let us know, because there's different ways that we can host data. We've done this before with partners with temporary S3 buckets, especially if it's part of a larger project. This is something I think that would appeal particularly if you're interested in applying to be part of the innovation lab. We could maybe help there with supporting with storage of data. Okay. How does one contribute R code or contribute in general to WEkEO if they can help create packages for other app platforms and frameworks in the various JS libraries for data accessibility and for integrating into already popular web and app platforms? We would love to have contributions. We've had contributions to our GitHub before for community-based code resources. So if you'd like to do that, then you can get in touch with me directly, or you can see the various contact details in our WEkEO GitHub or the help. We'd love to have more community contributions. So yeah, please do give us a shout and we can help you with that more directly. Okay, so somebody tried to create a Sentinel-2 image for the year 2024, but the image was not good for exploitation. This is something we could definitely help you with in more detail. In that nice AI-based chat, if you put in there that you've got this problem, describe it in as much detail as you can, eventually you'll get through to one of our data set experts who'll be able to help you more with working with that product. It depends a little bit on the exact data and the application that you're working with as to who you'll get to support. But yeah, please do reach out. We can probably take a look in more detail with you. Would it be possible to use an API to retrieve environmental and meteorological data for a specific region on your WEkEO platform and have this data available periodically? So our data is put out onto the system very regularly. We are operational in our way that we produce data from our satellites. So for example, with the weather data that EUMETSAT provide, our essential data that's available in WEkEO, as well as the data, the environmental data that's available, for example, from the Sentinel-3 platform. These are made available every day within regular timeliness. So for Sentinel-3, for example, it's within a couple of hours. For some of our weather data, it's even shorter because obviously it's more critical for that time frame. So you can use the APIs to set up any kind of sort of search and listening kind of query if you like to have that data come regularly. If you really need data very, very regularly without using cloud platforms, so I can also suggest you consider our EUMETCAST service, which is available across Africa. This is a dish-based service, so not the subject of today's conversation, but something that may help if you have this real hard need to get data very, very regularly and reliably. Can we equally extract all the data we need and do the treatment on QGIS? There's definitely workflows that we can use to help you with this. As I mentioned, I think in one of our previous trainings, there was a demonstration on using QGIS. We have some plugins, not directly to WEkEO per se, but for example, for the marine service data, this can go directly into QGIS. Another thing that we could do is set up a workflow using EOCanvas that allows you to transform the data as we have it, which is typically in NetCDF, into some kind of raster format, a TIFF, GeoTIFFs, these kind of things, if that's useful for you, and routinely export those. So you could use the cloud to do this transformation and then extract just the data you need in the format you need it in. So this is something that can be done through EOCanvas. Again, reach out if you'd like that. Let me just try and translate the questions in French because my French is very bad. I haven't done it since school. But let me see if I can just quickly translate your question.
The person
or
would like
to read it out to me, maybe.
The person would like to know. Hello.
Can I get that one?
Hi. Hello.
Hi. Yes, we can hear you.
Can you translate this one for me from Crystal?
Sure. The person would like to know if the tools are used for information gathering or they are used for analyzing data, and then also we'd like to know what best tool can be used in the African context.
Second. I think the question is saying something about, can you use the information to do annual analysis, and can you adapt it to the African context? If my French is really, really rusty. But yes, you can definitely collect the data we have is available over many years. So you can extract data over different time frames. You may need to spend a little bit of time just making sure you get the right product. Some stuff is available daily, monthly, yearly, some for short periods, some for long periods, but we can help you navigate that through the support. And yeah, a lot of our data has global coverage. So most everything, you can get most of the variables, I would say, and from most of the satellites, data in the African context as well. What kind of in situ data do you have available? Elevation data. There's a lot of in situ data available. You can search through the catalog. It'll tell you what different ones are there. There's lots of things, including things like land cover. We have one of these digital elevation models that's available through Copernicus there as well. There's ocean in situ data available through the Marine Service, all sorts of things. Far too many for me to list off the top of my head, but have a search through the catalogue. There's lots in there. Can we have a link for a tutorial on the training of WEkEO on YouTube? Yes, let me see if I can find it. Otherwise, they're all available through the events page through the main WEkEO website, which I will have a look for now. See if I can post this in the chat. Here you are in the chat. This is our YouTube channel, and all of them are there, but you can also look at the WEkEO events page, which is here. You can also get the PDF copies of the presentations and recordings there as well. What is the resolution of the free data you have? Yeah, the finer the resolution, the better. We always want more resolution. I think this is true, whatever part of the satellite thing you work in. It varies per variable, I would say. I mean, in terms of things like optical data, the sort of highest resolution data we're getting from the Sentinels, like Sentinel-2 is sort of 10 meters. There are some other products that include some finer scale data, and especially the in situ obviously is very pinpoint, but it varies. We don't obviously make freely available a lot of private data, such as the highest resolution optical imagery you'd get from some of the commercial offers. But there's quite a lot there, and I'd say it's improving all the time, getting better. Is it possible to have recent DEM data so as to evaluate the slope changes in Africa for a long period? I'm not an expert on this topic, so I wouldn't be able to tell you in precision, but definitely get in touch. We have experts on the land side who'll be able to tell you what the most recent data we have on this. I mean, I know we have things providing similar sorts of geophysical data from Sentinel-1. I don't know how recently the DEM is updated that we have, so definitely get in touch with the help desk to get more information on this one. How frequently is the data updated? Can it be integrated into an automated workflow? Yes, definitely. This is something a lot of our users do. Again, the frequency of the data depends on the data set, particularly you're looking at. Some of it is as frequently as, I say, sort of multiple times a day. I mean, our essential data from EUMETSAT, a lot of it is available within hours regularly over the day for the weather. Some of the longer stuff, like the climate data records, are only reprocessed periodically. So very much a case of the data you're dependent on. And yeah, you can integrate an automated workflow in this. You'd have to set up the search queries and the downloads, but this is something that is a workflow that's very common. Can we have access to geospatial models through WEkEO? I'm not quite sure what you mean here by geospatial models, but perhaps you can contact our service desk and we can discuss more about the sorts of things you're looking for. There's definitely model output there from different sort of physical environmental models, but I'm not sure if this is exactly what you're looking for. Is it possible to get data sets specific to certain areas, especially land cover and land use in those areas in countries like Ghana. Yeah, we do. There's a lot of very specific data to specific regions. I say a lot of it covers the globe, so you can easily chop out bits that are useful, but what's available where depends on the specific things. Land cover, I'd have to have a look. Again, mostly I deal with the sea, but so I definitely have colleagues who could help this. Pipeline data also available on WEkEO. I'm not quite sure what you mean here, but maybe this is something we could look at. I don't think so. Off the top of my head, it's not something I've heard of. So, example, if I'm working in aquaculture, how can WEkEO be useful to me? Okay, this is something I definitely have some good experience of. My PhD work was looking at aquaculture. So yes, we provide a lot of data that's useful towards the aquaculture industry, particularly around the topics of water quality. So we provide information on chlorophyll, ocean color that can be used to assess the presence of algal blooms. There's model data that can provide currents, temperature, salinity, information on nutrients. There's all sorts of different variables out there. If you can think of a variable of interest for the aquaculture industry, we probably have something towards it. So yeah, that's definitely something we can help you with. There's also some nice use cases relating to aquaculture on there, particularly around harmful algal blooms, for example. So you can see that. Yep. Yes, somebody asked about pipeline data here. I'm not quite sure what you mean, but I don't think this is something that we do have. If it's specific to particular activities that are going on in particular locations, I don't think this is something that we have. Okay. I think that might be all the questions. Were there any more? Thank you for all the questions. It's really great to have such a keen audience.
Yes, I think this has been very interactive. There's been a lot of questions coming in the aquatic domain for those who are interested to develop solutions in aquaculture, which is an industry really needed on the continent. Please, the data is available on the WEkEO platform. Make use of it. You've been asking how you are going to get a EO data, and that is why today's presentation is very, very important. And then if you don't know where to access the link to WEkEO on your dashboard, we have provided a link that goes there, and then you can engage the AI agent or send your questions, and they are always willing to help. As I indicated, the GAIAthon is being sponsored by the European Commission through the African Union Commission. And this is the partnership that we have with the Copernicus program as well as EUMETSAT. So please take advantage of that. We are not getting any more questions. I think we can then bring this presentation to a logical conclusion. And on behalf of all the audience that are here today, we want to express profound gratitude to Dr. Hayley Evers-King for availing yourself to give us this presentation, and also the promise of continuous assistance behind the scenes from EUMETSAT. We thank you so much. This presentation will be available on YouTube. So please, you can consult and then do a run over again and then benefit more from it. I would also like to express gratitude to Miss Agnes Afuakwa behind the scenes who helped with the French translation. We thank you so much. And to all of you, thank you and stay well.